Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am so glad to be with you today. Today, we're going to have a great conversation with one of my, how do I call it? One of my icons, one of my heroes, one of the people that I grew up looking up to in this community for a very long time, long-standing family and friend relationships. That is none other than him, the man himself, Bishop Hurley Coleman Jr. Thank you, Bishop, for being here.
Such kind words. I'm really trying to figure out who this is you're talking about. You say my name. Yeah.
So I needed to have him in the studio today when I thought about all of the people that we could have conversations with concerning the conversation, how do we respond? And when I say that, I'm talking about how do we respond as the village to all of the things that have been taking place, to the executive orders, to the pardons, to the mass hysteria of the current administration in less than 7 days. And so I think it's important for us to have a conversation to begin to talk about how do we move as a group. Now, I want to give a shout out to all those organizations who have learned and are operating in collaboration. But I do want to say this as we preface this conversation. It's important for us as a village for this season to give it over some of the hangups that we don't like this group. We don't like that person. We don't mess with this person. We don't fool with these people. Stop getting upset by social media posts that have absolutely nothing to do with you. These are all diversions to the work that we must accomplish in these coming years. It is vitally important. If we don't come together, then we will find ourselves further behind the 8 ball than we currently are, dealing with things that you won't be able to imagine that we'll be dealing with. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. How do we respond? So I'm going to give a shout out to all of you that are listening on the FM dial at 107.1 FM. And then those of you who are continually coming in through our social media platforms, whether it's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen or KISS WTLZ FM. And if you would like to see this show and any other shows, you are able to tune in. Come to WTLZ, KISSWTLZ.com. And when you get to the page, you will see the faces on there. They'll say, hey, this is a program, Straight Talk. Hit that beautiful face on there and you'll be able to see this program and other programs in their entirety. A shout out to Geraldine Bowen Walker, Bishop. She's in the stream. Your friend.
My friend,
my
classmate.
Mother.
Yep, that's my classmate.
She is out there in San Antonio, Texas right now, living her best life, looking beautiful. I saw some of the pictures, Mom. You look absolutely
just
beautiful.
Trying to make us all jealous.
But what I want to do, because I told you all before that we are unapologetically Black here on this show, and I don't have a problem with saying that. And I just want to say to those who are not folks of the darker persuasion, when we say that we are unapologetically Black, that does not mean that we are anti-white, anti-brown, or anti-other. It just simply means that we are taking the same road of celebrating our people as other people have done without having to apologize.
And I think that's important to say. I think it's too bad that in 2025 we have to say that we have to almost be all apologetic about not being apologetic, simply because there is no way that anyone could know or think that I'm anything other than what I am. When they see me, there's a lot of other persuasions I may have that you'll only know if I tell you. But when you see me, you know I'm Black. And so there's no reason for me not to act like I am what I am.
Some of y'all know when you see us, you walk on, you do that Dionne Warwick song, walk on by.
That's right.
But we're going to do better this year. We're going to do better. I want to we're going to start off, and then we're going to get right into the thick of our conversation. Someone asked me, one of the leaders in the community said, hey, I think that you have the proper and the best platform that we can make Black History Month 365 days a year. And so I've taken on that task, at least while I'm on air, that we will bring some light, shine the light on the history that makes us who we are. Today, I want to talk a little bit about someone by the name of Frederick McKinley Jones. Frederick McKinley Jones is someone that, I didn't really know a lot about. But as I began to look at who can we celebrate? I found so many amazing people to celebrate Bishop. Frederick Jones was born May 17th, 1893. He died in 1961. That's not that far ago. Was an American inventor, entrepreneur, engineer, winner of the National Medal of Technology, and an inductee of the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Jones invented mobile refrigeration technology for us all to use. He also received 61 patents, 40 of those that were surrounding around refrigeration, and then others that were around revolutionary technology, including the cinema industry, by creating a superior sound for projectors at that time. Jones co-founded Thermo King. I've never heard of that. Have you heard of Thermo King before? Okay, Bishop was back there when they were talking about Thermo King, so he understands this. He created Thermo King and also served in the World War I. Due to his contributions to refrigeration technology, he is called the King of Cool. In the U.S. Army, Jones took part in the World War I in an all-black unit until his mechanical skills were spotted, and he was promoted to sergeant, working as an electrician and even teaching other soldiers how to do that operation. Jones performed the wiring necessary to equip his camp and electricity, telegraph, and telephone services. This man was doing it. Now listen to this. After his military service in World War I, he returned to Halleck, where he worked as a mechanic while learning about electronics. He built a transmitter for the town's first radio station. Thank you, brother, because I wouldn't have a position to talk on the platform. He also invented a device to combine sound with motion pictures. This attracted the national attention of local entrepreneur Joseph Numero of Minneapolis. Numero owned a company that manufactured audio equipment called the Ultraphone Sound Systems, Inc., and was later renamed Cinema Supplies. He hired Jones in 1927, that is, as an electrical engineer to improve the audio equipment made by his firm. Jones worked on converting silent movie projectors into audio-visual projectors. That means they went from silent films to films that had sound. That is a major breakthrough. No more Charlie Chaplin, but we're doing things and now bringing, this is a black man, y'all. This is amazing. He also worked on, converting silent projectors into audiovisual projectors. Also patented a ticket dispensing machine for movie theaters. Can you imagine that? When you go to the theater and you're purchasing your ticket, the initial workings of that began with a black man, which is by the name of Jones. In 1938, following a request from Romero, he began designing thermal control model, an automatic truck refrigeration. So when we talk about mobile refrigeration, he is the man that began to put that together. He designed a portable air cooling unit for trucks carrying perishable goods to prevent spoilage. That meant produce and things could then travel, milk, and be kept well. The Model A refrigeration equipment was attached to the undercarriages of trucks, chilled the air, and transported to the inside of the trailer via refrigerant tubing. Because Model A was too heavy, Jones later developed the Model B, which was much lighter and more durable. In 1941, he completed what we call Model C, which was mounted to the front of the truck. It was compact, light, and withstood road travel vibrations. In 1939, Jones filed for the patent for the Model A and received a patent for it in July 1949. That's a big year. When we talk about keeping things cool, in 1949, there was a lot going on. The nation was in despair. They were trying to make sure that we all could eat because there was such a Great Depression going on. He then sold his movie sound equipment to RCA and formed a new company partnership with Jones. Jones and Romero did this. Thermal Control Company, later the Thermo King Corporation, became a $3 million. This is back in the 1940s. A $3 million business by the time 1949 hit. Portable cooling units designed by Jones were especially important. They used them during the war to preserve blood and blood machines, food that was necessary to be kept on location while our soldiers were out during battle. He also developed a portable X-ray machine. This is really amazing, y'all. He also developed early prototype of a snowmobile. So this is what's funny, because when we think about snowmobiles, we think about white folks out there having a great time in the snow, but it was actually the invention of a brother that made this invention possible. And then he went on to do a number of amazing things. As we said earlier, in 1944, he became the first African American to become a member of the American Society of Refrigeration Engineers. In 77, he posthumously inducted into the Minnesota Inventors Hall of Fame. And in 2007, my man Jones was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, which honored him as a visionary veteran. That is your little known Black History fact for today, as we endeavor to keep every single day 365 days of beautiful Blackness. I want you to like, tag, and share this conversation. Get your friends involved. We are going to talk about what do we do now? How do we respond to all of the things that we have seen and heard in the first 5 days of this administration? It's important, and I would like to preface this conversation with saying that we were told over and over again that the details of Project 2025 were all a fallacy, that they were not real. And many of our own people, Bishop, were lulled into believing that this was about the cost of bread, the cost of a carton of eggs, the cost of milk, which we have not seen one executive order or statute that pertains to any of those things. And in fact, we're told that this was not important, that it's going to be hard to do, and that it's going to take care of itself. So if that is the story and the lie that was being fed, and there was no there as it relates to how this inflationary thing that we're dealing with is going to be changed by an administration, then we need to have a conversation. What is it all really about?
You got to start from the notion that in the first term of this particular president, a young lady, a sister who was the editor with the New York Times, wrote the 1619 Project.
Yes.
The 1619 Project took a look at the actual true history of when Africans first came to America and what happened from that point on. The response to this administration in that administration was to support the development of the 1776 Project, which sought to circumvent the truth of it. It became classic to have a different level of truth and level of information. Those who remember one quote from one of the staffers of the previous term for this present administration that said that there are alternative facts that they can use, and they built alternative facts. When Project 2025 was introduced, it was intentionally introduced to get it out in the public sphere so that people could talk about it and forget about it, so that people could hear about it and treat it as if it was a comic book or something that didn't matter. But it was almost 1,000-page document that was developed over the 4 years after the present administration was unelected.
Absolutely.
In the last term. And the intention was to be prepared that on day one, they could begin to circumvent everything that had happened, everything that the civil rights movement, everything that affirmative action, even the Constitution, the constitutional rigors that forced people to obey the law. And so there were people who were saying that Project 2025 was incredibly important and people had to pay attention to it. This particular president was asked if he knew about it. He said he didn't know anything about it. He said, it's nothing, and I don't have anything. I don't even think it's a real document. That's what he said. But yes, just today, I noticed in a report that 11 of those executive orders came directly from the playbook of 2025.
Absolutely.
And the balance of them, inured to some of the projections of Project 2025.
You know, when we look at this, and I was sharing this before the election, that the Heritage Foundation that was responsible for uh, being the author of Project 2025. 60% of what they put together in their agenda when Reagan was in office became
law.
His agenda,
Yeah.
and he began to execute that. When we look at who are the individuals that were a part of the administration of that first administration, when Trump moved out of office that first time, 30% of the individuals that were a part of his administration went to work for the Heritage Foundation.
Right.
Many of them co-authored portions of Project 2025, and many of you may say, "Hey, why are we talking about Project 2025? Because it is a part. The election's over; it's no longer necessary." Well, now we're seeing that we're moving from just conversations to actually policies that will embrace the philosophy. And this is the thing about it: we can always change policy. We can deal with policy. Someone else can be voted in, and we can change policy. But we cannot change philosophy, the ideologies that are presented. And when we have policymakers who have an ideology that is very different, it can set us back decades. And we're now dealing with a situation in which that's exactly where we are.
Well, you do understand that what you just said, the very nature of what you just said, is sometimes beyond people's ability to really even think. When you start talking about ideology and the way people think and what drives them, it is bigger than what they write. It is bigger than what they say. It is exactly what people can do when they can look you in the face and lie, knowing that what they're lying about is exactly what they're going to do. And so what we're dealing with Project 2025 is not a new ideology. It is an old ideology. And now people need to think about Project 2025. Is this the roadmap to making America great again? And if it is, what America are they trying to recreate?
I want us to. I'm going to lay out. There were so many before.
Can I say something before
absolutely,
you go?
absolutely.
One of the things I hope that everybody's paying attention to is that there is a psychology to what has happened in this first week. There was so many things that were done. It's not possible for anybody to cover them in one news story, in one news cycle. There are so many things that are done. They have so many cyclical effects and so many extended effects. And there are so many actions that have been taken that haven't even been discussed, that there's no way that anybody can encapsulate all that has happened. But it is tactically a significantly powerful move to create chaos.
I want to say something. I'm glad you said it and you shaped it that way. I'm going to give those of you listeners out there, you may have never heard this term, but blitzkrieg.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a way that Hitler became
Exactly.
as powerful as he is. And for those of you who are listening, we're talking about lightning warfare. And what it meant is that it's shock and awe. You hit them with everything that you can, stunning them so that they're slow to respond and really are hit by so many fronts.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
There you go. And so what we're seeing is politically, and the concept of Hitler, I think we aren't done seeing in this administration. We've seen Mr. Musk do a Heil Hitler, which was how the Third Reich would salute their commander in chief. But what we are seeing is a political blitzkrieg. It is, let's hit them with everything that we can to shock and awe them, so that they don't know where to begin, because it's a death by 1,000 cuts. I want to go through it because we've had how many executive orders?
I have no idea the number.
Before number 47 took office, the record for executive orders on the first day was 9, and that was set by President Joe Biden. So that meant for a long time, people understood that we cannot govern by executive order. The first day, I think there were 40 in the first day, if I'm not mistaken. And the goal was 100 for the first week.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that there is a shifting in how we operate and the things that we are to do. So I want to throw some of these out there, and then I want us to come back because some of these are very important that we need to discuss and bring to the table. So those of you who are listening, we're talking about how do we respond And we're talking about the elements that have occurred over the first 5 days of this administration. So with executive order, we've seen changes to the following. We see that there was a development in there was a new department founded, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which in essence is bringing oligarchs into our government to determine how we can
explain what oligarch is.
And we're going to talk about it, how we can efficiently manage our government. Now, oligarchs are individuals who are extremely wealthy. It's a rule by rich. We see this in countries like Ukraine and like Russia. Important to keep these things in mind. And so we see some of the richest men ever, over 15 executive orders on the first day, you believe. Okay, thank you very much for Regina G.G. Williams. We certainly thank you for giving us an update. But when we look at this, there's a rule by rich people. Now we understand that our government is run by rich folks. It's almost a qualification to be in government. You have to have money. It's unfortunate, but true. But we've never had individuals with interests that are to line their pockets. Visible interests directly in line where they would be also receiving government contracts, government loans, because he received a huge government loan to create some of the industries that he's in, now being in a place where he is responsible for efficiency. What is your thought initially? Bigger than that,
bigger than that, he's in a position to actually govern what he's receiving, to actually impact and mitigate any negative forces that may be against him getting what he wants. And he is in a position to right that and make it so that it works for not only him, but those of that same ilk. What we have is, some people may remember that one of the big things that happened in the previous administration during the 45 era, that there was a call for deregulation.
Yes.
Saying that deregulation would make business work better. However, deregulation in essence made life more risky and less safe. This deregulation that will be taking place now is not going to be done by lobbying or by direction. It's going to be done by placing people from those industries, from those environments in position to write the rules to benefit them. Now, some people are going to argue with this and say, you guys are just making this up, but think about it. All of these appointments, DOGE is a classic example. It's a created organization. It's a created department. It has never functioned like that. You already have the Inspector General. You already have the Office of Compliance. You already have things that the Department of Treasury that have the effort to make sure that government efficiency is a priority. This says it's not government efficiency that we're trying to do. We're trying to look at profitability efficiency. What can government do to make our mechanics for profitability more efficient? And let's take out whatever hinders that, which is why overnight we saw so many inspectors general fired summarily.
You know, it's going to be interesting seeing that when we think about government efficiency, that name by itself almost seems oxymoronic. Government efficiency, because we have never operated in government.
I have a difference of opinion of that.
Tell me what you mean.
The reason I have a difference of opinion of that is because I worked in government for 25 years as a professional. And I know that one of the hallmarks of our success was not only being efficient, but in some cases, learning how to operate and deliver quality services with less resources every year. Case in point is Saginaw, Michigan.
Well, we're going to see that very soon. Those of you who, and I think that's the missing story that people aren't going to see, because this administration is going to make sure that we're going to be more efficient than we ever have. Because so many things are going to be on the chopping floor.
I'm going to say this line and people will hear it and hope they will repeat it. We may be more efficient, but less sufficient.
There you go. That's a great way to say that. So we have this new government and also the restoring of the death penalty. We're going to get to that because that's huge. I want us to see this pattern that is existing here. Our producer is going to allow me to get through these. We'll come back and talk about them after the break. But restoring the death penalty, considering that 31% of the U.S. population is represented by Black and Hispanics, but 53 of the individuals on death row are Black and Hispanic.
53%. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at reaffirm existence of constitutional right to freedom of speech, what that really means. Pardoned. Let's talk about the pardons on January 6th. All of this, we're not going to come back and Bishop, I'm not even going to try to stretch your brain to do this in one conversation, but we'll have other conversations regarding this to continue this conversation. The attempt of the end of birthright citizenship. That's a whole conversation in itself.
To me, that's one of the most frightening.
And we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, the ending of illegal discrimination and restoring what they're now calling MEI, merit, excellence, and intelligence over DEI. We're going to come back and talk about what that really means, because these are very loaded in what not only they state, but also what's implied and not said. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When you come back, we'll be back with more of Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Game on, Mid-Michigan. Coach Ryan Wasik here from Bell Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. If you've been fumbling around town in a car you hate, punt it, because this month you could drive a nicer, newer car for just $1 down. See, all I want to do is watch football, but I can't relax until I kick off the new year. So get your head in the game, and you could drive home in a car you love for just $1 down. That's a touchdown for not much down. Plus, at Bell Wasik GMC Buick, we're all about affordability. We don't leave anything up to a coin toss. My team has a playbook of solutions. We work hard to help you find the car you love for a monthly payment you can afford. So if you want to feel like a winner, but your old ride makes you feel like a loser, punt it and touchdown for just $1 down in a nicer, newer car. But hurry, a deal this good won't last long and it won't go into overtime. I'm Ryan Wasik and I'm your dealer for the people. See all my MVP rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit and $1 down requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Offer absolutely ends January 31st, 2025.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you bought that TV in the parking lot. It just happened to not come in a box or include a remote. And when you finally managed to turn it on, all it displayed was the menu of Grumpy's Tacos. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
You'll do better at Garber.
Garber Chevy Saginaw makes it better for you with their exclusive low price guarantee. It's Garber's promise to you to enjoy better prices and better payments. Like a 2025 Equinox from just $263 a month, a 25 Silverado for just $258 a month, or a 2025 Chevy Trax for as little as $213 a month. Every day we work hard to make it better for you. Hurry to Garber Chevrolet on Gratiot Road in Saginaw, home of the low price guarantee. See our entire inventory online at GarberChevroletSaginaw.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Everybody knows you'll do better at Garber.
Select in-stock models plus tax and fees. $38.93 due at signing. 10,000 miles per year with approved credit. Requires GM employee pricing and GM lease loyalty. Some require lease conquest. Equinox LT front-wheel drive 36 months. Silverado 2FL 24 months. It tracks 1 LT 24 months. See dealer for details. Offer ends 3/3/2025.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Let the region's leader in bariatric care help you transform your life. Learn more at covenantbariatrics.com. Choose extraordinary. Choose Covenant Healthcare.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
This is Kareem. We're back with more of Straight Talk. We are in the studio today with the great man, the myth, the legend, Bishop Hurley Coleman Jr.
I'm sure people listening have no idea why you call me all those acronyms. I mean, I'm all those flowery words. Just that guy over here trying to do things.
But when I thought about what needs to happen, and you know, the show was started on the premise of creating a space that we could have conversations about how do we strengthen the village. There's an African adage that says that it takes a village to raise a child. And I often ask the question, but what happens when that village is on fire? And so we're talking about not only putting the fire out, but how do we rebuild the walls? We have been put in a situation where a lot is ablaze, not just California. And our thoughts and prayers are with them. But if you are, unless you've been living under a rock this past 5 days, there have been a number of blazes in our community that are directly impacting us that we must talk about. And so we're going to talk about these issues and how do we respond as a community. There have been suggestions. Hey, we got to boycott because on the onset of this election, we saw companies like Walmart, which never really cared about Black folks as it relates to some of the things that were most important to us. And I'll talk about what that means as we go. Companies like McDonald's, when we think about diversity, we think McDonald's, anybody can get a job at McDonald's. But many of these companies, Apple and all of these others, have removed and completely abandoned their DEI projections and their departments that we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion. So before the break, if you weren't here, I want you to go back and take a listen to what we're talking about. I outlined some of the key executive orders that have been out there. And Bishop Coleman, I'm going to allow you an opportunity to start the conversation about these executive orders. Is there anyone that
let me just jump on the last one that you mentioned, DEI.
All right.
And let's talk about DEI, because 23 years ago, when I first came to Saginaw as a pastor, I was also working for Wayne County at the time. And Wayne County at the time was one of the larger government organizations in the country that was dealing with the whole notion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it wasn't because there was this rampant riot about people not being included. And it wasn't necessarily about Black people. It was about all levels of inclusion and equity as it relates to the people from the binary and multiple gender conversations, people with physical disabilities, people who were veterans, people who were from other nations, African Americans, Hispanics, people who were in urban versus suburban. There are all kinds of inequity. The notion of inequity is a broad spectrum. And then when you talk about diversity, there has always been a need to make sure that organizations look like the audience that they serve.
Absolutely.
It is still the case. It's the case even right now. And so diversity, equity were lost efforts without an intentional push for inclusion, because that need to be the driver. And there were so many people who would sit in meetings and they would discover in the conversation that they were carrying biases that they didn't even know they had.
Absolutely.
There were biases that were implicit that they didn't state, they weren't obvious, but there was minor aggressions happening all the time. And so DEI became one of those bells that could be rang every time somebody wanted to make an otherism kind of effort.
You know, one of the things I want to do is put this in perspective, because I think that what you're saying is so very true. The philosophy of DEI is something that has been going on since Reconstruction.
That's right.
It's taken on different, we've heard the word affirmative action. It's been different words and different phraseology. And really that has been really so that the people in power could feel comfortable with the conversations, right?
But I can simplify it even.
Go ahead.
There was a time when there was a strong Republican conservative push anti-abortion. Okay. And so the abortion law was overturned. Now, what do they have? They need to have something to make people angry about, something to make people feel disfranchised, something to make people think they were taking something away from you so that they could rile up their resources. And they picked two things, DEI and critical race theory, CRT.
Yeah.
Even those critical race theory had nothing to do with anything other than people going to law school.
Nobody's teaching
people going to law school
Right.
and learn how to look at. All of a sudden, they became banners and they became bells that could be rang. And so the attack against DEI is much bigger than just trying to keep people from getting the job next to theirs. And it will negatively impact so many more people than just African Americans, just people who are in lower economic instances in urban situations. There are so many people, veterans, paraplegics, people who are
Absolutely.
who have mental disabilities, people who, all of these things where you would normally be kept out, because you would not be kept out because there was a need to give you an opportunity, an equal chance, and include you. Now it's almost like negative if people try to think about that.
Yeah. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, diversity means that there's a number of different faces in the room. Inclusion means that I'm sitting at the table, but my mic works, right? Mic check. Because so many times we were allowed in rooms, but our perspectives and we had no voice. Right. So when we talk about equity, it means that we are now, if we're all looking across the fence, all of us looks the same. But if someone's 4'2" and everybody else is 6'9", that means that we have to provide a step for that person who's 4'9", so that they have the same vantage point and are able to see. Equity and equality are not the same.
That's right.
And much of white America is okay with equality at this stage. And we're going to talk about why this is problematic. They're okay with equality, but they have issues with equity. Why is that, Bishop?
Well, it's because it means that we now start from the same place. And that means that my advantage is not there anymore. And that means that if my advantage is not there, that means you've been given an advantage over me, even though the unfair advantage that pre-existed this moment was unfair on my side. But now that it's on the other side, now it's wrong. And so that's really what is being pushed. That's really what's being energized to make this happen. You go think about this. There is the executive order that threw out that overturned the executive order of Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah.
For equal opportunity employment, equal opportunities. Think about this. Lyndon Baines Johnson was the president in the 60s after John F. Kennedy died.
Yeah.
That law, that executive order was written to enforce the Civil Rights Amendment, the civil rights activities, right? They enforce affirmative action. So now you take away that executive order, there's nothing there to enforce that law, which has never been fulfilled. Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that unless you feel that the absence of that law will give room for those who want to go back to a place where civil rights wasn't the code, the equal opportunities wasn't the code, and give them freedom to do it without the compulsion of law and restriction, which was it. It was not necessary. What damage was being done by that executive order for all of those years, 45 years of executive order, plus of executive order? But here's the deep thing about this, and I was thinking about this on the way over here. One of the reasons why this thing matters so much to me is that this stuff happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm 71 years old. In my lifetime, I was in the 5th grade when John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. I was in the 9th grade in 1968 when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I saw it. I saw the legislation happen. When I went to college, I went to college because there were people there like me who were able to get grants for college that had I was in the group that was some of the first people in our families that ever go to college because
Absolutely.
we had opportunity. I saw it happen. And now to see all these years later where somebody's saying we don't need that anymore, it's not necessary. And I know that the cost of college is still higher. There's still a disproportionate. It's still disproportionate. So it matters to me because I saw there are people who are listening to us talk now who say, well, this is not really a big deal. But you know, it's such a big deal because decades of effort to try to fulfill the promises of these laws is now being thrown out.
You know what's interesting is the assault that they're trying to make in our community against education and against college. You don't need to go to college, go get a skilled trades. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm all for it, I think that you can make a great living in skilled trades, but there's something about having the education from a college or a university that empowers you in a way, because I think it was Malcolm X who said that when you get education and you commit it to memory, they can't take it from you.
That's true.
And there are the ancillary things, the outside things that when you are in college, learning how to think provocatively, learning how to plan an argument, learning how to come together and coalesce around different thoughts and ideas in a well thought out pattern are so essential to being able to build progress. But I wanted to bring this to you because I think it's important. People don't realize that the phrase, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah. When you think about the things that you were fighting for, when you think about the march for equality, when we think about the 14th Amendment, and we're going to have a whole conversation on this.
Have a whole conversation about the 14th Amendment.
When we look at that, some of these, the birthright citizenship, this is an argument that took place when we were talking about bringing in the 14th Amendment all over again.
You got to say this in a manner where the people understand. The 14th Amendment was designed to give access to citizenship to formerly enslaved people who had spent their whole lives on the plantation, and now with emancipation should have access, but were being denied. So the law was created that if you were born on a plantation, you were American and could be American citizen and thereby have American rights. So if people are thinking that this act against the 14th Amendment is only for people crossing the Mexican border, no.
Don't be disillusioned.
Mom and them, baby and them, Dodo and them, y'all better pay attention here, because now it's like I told somebody a few years ago. I said, don't think that your voting rights is permanent, because it is not.
They have to revote them in each year.
And it has not been voted back in.
Absolutely.
It expired.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not letting out a secret, but if an executive order comes up around tomorrow and he says no more voting rights, guess what, y'all? And when he said this will be the last election you have to vote in,
he may have actually meant it.
May have actually meant it.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break. What I wanted you to do, those of you who are at home listening, we have an amazing conversation going on in our social media streams, but I need you to like, tag, and share this conversation. If you got young people, let's get young people around. If it's around the computer, if it's around your phone, if you're listening to this on the radio, because some of you say that you like to get in your car and listen to it on the radio. Let's get them involved, because this is going to to take a unified front from the community, decide what exactly are we going to do. Right now, we're discussing the issues to make sure that you understand what's at stake. We will transition this conversation from just discussing them to what do we need to do in order to take action. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick, stay, don't go away. When we come back, you'll be back with more of Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
Hi, welcome to our grand reopening.
What's so grand? Looks like the same bar, same food, same drinks.
But not the same Club Keno.
Welcome to the newly redesigned Club Keno from the Michigan Lottery. Now with the new +3, giving you more chances to match and win.
I like.
There's a new and improved kicker with more chances to multiply your winnings.
Impressive.
And even bigger jackpots with a jack.
Wow, I just love what you've done with the place.
Try the new Club Keno, only from the Michigan Lottery. Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
Game on, Mid-Michigan. Coach Ryan Wasik here from Bell-Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. If you've been fumbling around town in a car you hate, punt it, because this month you could drive a nicer, newer car for just $1 down. See, all I want to do is watch football, but I can't relax until I kick off the new year. So get your head in the game, and you could drive home in a car you love for just $1 down. That's a touchdown for not much down. Plus, at Bell-Wasik GMC Buick, we're all about affordability. We don't leave anything up to a coin toss. My team has a playbook of solutions. We work hard to help you find the car you love for a monthly payment you can afford. So if you want to feel like a winner, but your old ride makes you feel like a loser, punt it and touchdown for just $1 down in a nicer, newer car. But hurry, a deal this good won't last long and it won't go into overtime. I'm Ryan Wasik and I'm your dealer for the people. See all my MVP rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit and $1 down requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Offer absolutely ends January 31st, 2025.
Save big money on everything for your painting and staining projects now at Menards. Add beautiful color to your projects with Minwax water-based wood stain. This penetrating stain delivers color that showcases wood grain in one single coat and dries in 1 hour. Get a quart for $15.49 at Menards. Plus, check out Minwax's 2025 Color of the Year, Violet, in-store and on Menards.com. View the weekly flyer for more great deals going on now through February 2nd.
Save big money at Menards.
RocketGrabPlus.com.
This week, we have a fantastic deal just for you. This deal brought to you by K-Wall's Kitchen in Saginaw. Ready to try some fantastic food as you shop for those fantastic finds? Located inside the antique warehouse, K-Wall's Kitchen has just what you need. This week, get a $15 voucher for just $7.50. Don't miss out. This is one awesome deal. Head to RocketGrabPlus.com to claim yours today.
RocketGrabPlus.com.
When being seriously overweight puts your health at risk, you don't need another fad diet. You need professional medical guidance from the region's leader in bariatric care, Covenant Health Care. When you have bariatric surgery at Covenant, we support you at every step. We help you prepare for surgery. We have the region's most experienced bariatric surgeons. And post-surgery, we give you lifetime access to a dietitian, support groups, and more. Attend a free online seminar at CovenantBariatrics.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live full service.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a walk-up with central air and a skylight, and you found it. Now, every Friday night, you get to fall asleep to the sound of your downstairs neighbors' dance parties. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-301-4422, 800-301-4422, 800-301-4422.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
This is Kareem. We're back with more Straight Talk. Here with the Reverend Dr. Hurley Coleman Jr. And before the break, Dr. Coleman, you were making the conversation about, I want to give a shout out first to Jimmy Green. He says, good to see you, Hurley.
Oh.
And someone said, we can read your lips, Kareem, because my thoughts were, hey, this is my show. You ain't good to see me. But it's okay. It's okay. We both love you anyways. But we were having a conversation about the work and you being around for the fights of civil rights and the things that were taking place. And I was asking the question, how does it feel now coming back and looking the same fight in the eyes, different script, a different cast, but the same script?
I think one of the things it is important for people to understand is that these kinds of fights don't ever end, because no one gives up power. Nobody gives up power. Power has to be fought for, it has to be taken, it has to be ascribed, and then you have to protect the power once you get it. And we've had too many. One of the things that I remember this, and it may be off the subject, but I remember sitting in a meeting about 12 years ago. There was a great, terrible tragedy in town. Milton Hall was killed in the parking lot in public service, and I was in a meeting. And I heard somebody say, well, they're going to be upset for a little while, but it'll be over and they won't think about it anymore, because they were saying that Black people make noise, but then they go away. And one of the challenges is that it's true.
Absolutely.
It's true. We will get upset. We'll be enamored. We'll be all up in arms. And the thing about this present moment, we can't afford to be just loud and boisterous and let's go boycott McDonald's, because that's not going to change a thing. What we need to do is strategically understand that this war is much bigger. This battle is much bigger than even our own generation. My children's children should not be fighting the same fight that my parents and grandparents were fighting for me, but that's where we are.
And when you say that, I think it's so important to understand, and looking at this from a historical perspective, one of the executive orders targets, as we said before the break, the 14th Amendment. It takes us back to the question of how do we define ourselves as Americans? This is
Citizens,
how
citizenship.
Yeah. How do we find ourselves back in this same place? And it's because we will get some movement and be okay with some movement. And this is what my argument was when President Biden took office. We should have mandated, because we put him in office, that the first thing you deal with are the issues surrounding voting rights.
That should have happened right off the bat. I mean, in the wake of John Lewis dying, in the wake of the North Carolina rescue of that campaign, that should have been the first act to validate voting rights. And now we're still here. We're almost, it's 6 years later now, and nothing has been done to it. If you remember, there was no even conversation about that. And we went through this. I'm amazed at how, and this is where we have to be honestly critical of our own of ourselves. I'm amazed at how little conversation there are from those melanated politicians who were in position to push these things and did not do it.
And that's where I say sometimes our leadership fails us. We sometimes get caught into the cycle of where the people that are supposed to fight for us, it becomes a pageant, so to speak. Who do I like the most? They're my friend. But if the proof is not in the pudding, then we got a problem.
But which is worse than that, if I can interrupt
go ahead,
you once
go
again,
ahead.
It's worse than that because that's the problem that we do. We expect them to fight for us when we should be making them fight our fight. Okay, if I don't hold you accountable because I put you in office, then you have no penalty from me coming
Absolutely.
from me because you didn't make me do anything. I'm going to make this statement, and it's going to make people upset with me. And
say it, Bishop. Say it.
Be mad at me. But in the primary election, I told so many people that if there ever was a moment for African Americans to make a statement of unity, it's then. But guess what happened? It wasn't necessarily outside that caused us not to be successful, as for the first time having an opportunity to send African Americans to Washington, D.C. from Michigan, from Saginaw. It wasn't outside. It was inside because we were splintered and we could not get together. That has always been the tactic. And it's not just African-American community, it's Latino community, it's every other minority community where you'll find people who were in those communities who will work against a unified effort because divide and conquer is a tactic.
Okay, I'm glad you said what you just said because our show is coming to a close and I need to put this out there. I want you to finish out with this thought. I need you all to understand that today is not just one day conversation. When I talked to Bishop, I said, Bishop, we're going to have several conversations because we need to lay the groundwork and then build thereon. You made the conversation about, you mentioned all of the people that have to be a part of this process. And I want to say something. This is a bold statement. And of course,
I'm not surprised at the bold statement coming from you.
We have been moving toward, especially here in the Saginaw community, a place where some folks that are out there have been fracturing the relationship between Black and brown folks.
Yeah.
And they have decided that, hey, we're going to move as brown people, pushing brown agendas, this, that, and the other. As it relates even to the radio station here, it was the Black man, myself, who came on the air, this station, and then also on WSGW. And my fight was we need to bring other folks into the room. That has been the pathway that we have marched. We have fought as Black people because we have suffered and toiled, and other people have had the benefit of coming through those same doors.
That's right.
What do you say about the degradation of that coalition and the need for us to reaffirm that as we deal with some of the issues that we're faced today?
I think it's important that people recognize that this is not a race issue. This is a class issue.
Absolutely.
This whole notion that we're dealing with is a class issue. And I like the way you characterize this, because the civil rights legislation in this country and the 14th Amendment was built around making citizenship available to African slaves, previously enslaved Africans who were brought to this country. Every nationality in the world, not just in America, but in the world, benefited from that particular amendment to allow people to have birthright citizenship. Whether they were Latino, whether they were Hispanic, whether they were Puerto Rican, whether they were Asian, whether they were Asian Pacific, whether they were indigenous, everybody had now citizenship, birthright citizenship, because that 14th Amendment, which was directed as a civil rights movement, which was directed to accomplish that. Now, if we can find a way to unify us around the need for all of us. Let's, instead of crying and moaning about DEI being attacked, let's attack with DEI.
Absolutely.
Let's attack with it and say, no, this needs to happen. And here's why. If you're going to have affirmative action in the White House like you're doing, and you can pick who you want to pick, and people who have no qualifications whatsoever, I'm through.
Okay, we're going to take a long pause on that one. We're not going away. We're going to come back on next week. I want to thank you, Bishop, for being a party to this conversation. I look forward to walking through and building a foundation that we can not just talk about, but build a framework of action collectively in our community. If you're here today, we want you to come back next week at 6 p.m. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to continue to put the ducks in a row so that we can begin to take collective action, because the only way we can do it, we can't just be hot and the fire falls short, but we've got to make sure that we're fanning the flames of this fire to keep the passion going so that we don't run out of gas. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Grace and peace.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen.